Welcome to Inside the Vault, Enterprise Bank's podcast series where we talk about items of interest to the small business community. We're going to switch gears a little bit today and have a little celebration, a 25-year anniversary celebration for Enterprise Bank. The bank was founded in 1998 by a group of entrepreneurs, and today we're going to talk to a group of our staff members about their time here at Enterprise Bank, talk a little bit about the bank's culture, and our attention to the small business community. With me first today is Jody Zelensky. Jody, welcome.
Hi, Dave. Thanks.
Jody, you're one of our most tenured.
I was going to say, don't say old.
I'm
Tenured.
not going to say old. One of our most tenured relationship managers. You've been here since the beginning, since the founding of the bank, right?
Since before the bank started.
Okay.
So I started on September 3rd, 1998.
And you've had some very varied experience here at the bank in different positions. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when I first came, there were probably 7 of us that started. So I was doing a little bit of everything. So I came with the credit administration to oversee that and did that until about 2012. But with that, did HR, oversaw CSR area, operations, everything. So a little bit of everything. And then wanted to go back to my love, so to speak, to working with clients and becoming a relationship manager again.
Kind of encapsulate what the RM role is, what your role here is at Enterprise.
So we do everything. So we do everything from establishing business relationships, working with the clients from both the deposit and lending side. On the lending side, underwriting the deal, working the deal to it gets to closing, and then after closing, make sure that we continue to work our relationships with the clients. And the neat thing for me is I came from another bank where I was a lender, a relationship manager, and I've actually seen some clients go from their infancy to where they are now, and even turning the client or turning the business over to their children, to the next generation. So there's a couple of those that I've seen from the minute that they've opened until now that it's second generation run.
So what do you like? What do you like about the position, and we'll talk about the bank.
The being able to work with the clients, the different industries, learning things that I would have no idea how they were before, and learning how they run their business and the different intricacies of their business. Working with the different clients. I tend to be very close with my clients.
You are.
So I've been to weddings. I've been to funerals. I've been to a number of different things and know them like they are my friends.
Yeah, I was actually this past summer, you had a pig roast at your house, and
Yes.
I got to see clients that I hadn't seen in years. You do treat your clients like family.
Yeah, that was probably one of the funnest things that I did. I had wanted to do that for the last couple of years, but with COVID, kind of
Right.
stopped everything. But it was a way for myself to show appreciation to all of my clients. So it
Cooked
was
a pig in the ground.
cooked a pig in the ground. Yes, Hawaiian style, true
Yeah.
Hawaiian style. And everybody that was there absolutely loved it.
So the bank has really evolved since you
Yes.
started in '98. We've grown facilities, we've grown the number of staff, we've grown the client base. What do you really like about our culture and our bank?
The neat thing that we don't have to have branches everywhere. We have done this for 25 years in one location. And one of the things that I tell my clients is if I didn't have to go to the bank, if I didn't work at a bank, I don't know if I'd step foot in a bank because you can do everything remotely. You can do everything by me coming to your place. So I'm very big on going to my client sites and making sure that they don't have to step foot into the bank, making sure that I'm there to service them. And I think it's interesting how much we've grown. We've grown from a little post office into we've done 2 renovations. We've doubled and then doubled again. And it's been a lot of fun.
So tell me a little bit about who Jody Zelensky is outside of being an RM at Enterprise Bank.
Well, probably the thing that everybody knows is I am the most avid hockey fan of anything. So I do have season tickets, and it is another place that I like to entertain my clients, take clients to games and everything. My husband and I tend to try to go to at least one away game a year. to do something. Last year, we were lucky enough to go to the Winter Classic in Boston.
So you're a city girl that got moved to the country, right?
Oh, yes.
So
yes.
yeah, tell us a little bit about where you're from and where you are now.
I grew up in Penn Hills, which is city.
Yeah.
And graduated with over 800 students, so very, very large, very city-like. And I moved to Washington Township, which is in Westmoreland County. So it's a little different than what I was used to, but I love it. I love it. I live on 5.5 acres, and you can hunt on my property.
I've done that.
For instance, you have done it as well as your son.
Yeah.
And my husband, he could sit on the deck and look for his prey while on the deck.
Neat. Any specific memories that really stick out for you?
There's so many.
At the bank?
There's so many, but one thing that I think I'll always remember is when we were doing our first renovation. We're all sitting there, and all of a sudden they were pouring concrete, and concrete started coming through the ceiling into our CFO's office. And in the corner, our computer was there for our Fedline wire, and concrete just started pouring down through. And that was a very interesting day. Very interesting.
Again, as one of our most tenured RMs, what do you think the future holds for Enterprise Bank?
I think that there's a lot of technology growth, and I think we're trying to keep up with that. And we do have a new, younger group of people coming in who seem to have the same type of love for this industry, for us as a bank, and for everything. So I think hopefully it's going to go on a lot longer.
Thank you very much for the insight.
Sure.
For those of you viewers and listeners that have not worked with Enterprise Bank, RMs like Jody, do become family, trusted advisors. And here's to another 25 years. With me now is Relationship Manager Randy Davidson, who's been here at the bank for a fair amount of time. We talked to Jody Zielinski, and Jody was here at the beginning of the bank. When did you come into the mix, Randy?
I actually started Enterprise in 2008.
Wow.
I have 15 years in now.
You had a pretty tenured banking career prior to that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, I started at Mars National Bank out of high school. They had a work-study program at high school. I was in computers, accounting. Computers just started. They had computer probably as big as this desk that probably could fit in your phone now. It was a neat process. I actually got a job right out of high school, working half a day, going from high school to the bank, doing bookkeeping and so on, and just work my way up through Mars Bank, become a consumer lender, commercial lender. Went to night school for my diploma and degree at Point Park. So yeah, I probably have 40 years of banking.
Wow. What interested you about Enterprise Bank when you first came on board?
So basically, you and I were in young bankers, and had an opportunity when I worked at Mars, I was at the point of branch management. I was running 2 different branches, the Penn Township and the Richland branch. So I enjoyed commercial lending at the time and kind of wanted to get out of the branch management side of things. So Enterprise had an opportunity to come in and work with small businesses, which I really enjoy and really like to work with. So jumped in the role 15 years ago, and it's been going good ever since.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about, what your role is as an RM, types of things you do.
So small business financing, which Enterprise is very full. We're up front and doing most of our deals and customers with small business. So I enjoy it the most because you get an opportunity to go out and see what the business is all about, have that conversation. Clients love to tell you about their business, as you know. And when you get a loan approved and see how it helps that business grow and they become a long-term customer, that's to me, that's what we're all about, building relationships and really helping a business grow.
Yeah. And you've developed kind of some niches over the years here at Enterprise. I always say you're our machine shop, you're our manufacturing guy. And then you've also done a fair amount with contractors and builders, right?
Yes. Yeah, we have some local builders in the Mars area that we've done development deals on. We have some machine shops that we've worked through. So, yeah, well-rounded, big variety.
So Who is Randy Davidson beyond Enterprise Bank?
Randy likes to do a lot of things. Love sports. Actually have a property, we have a lake house down in Somerset County. It's called the Yawk Lake, and spend a lot of weekends there boating and just enjoying
Building
family
on
time.
your own, right?
Building on my own, yeah. Bought a property down there in '08, and I've actually did an addition probably 3 years ago, and still working on it. But
Yeah, I've been there. Beautiful, beautiful place.
really like it.
So you're also our ace on the golf course, right?
I like to golf. Yes, I do. Like to
Don't be
golf.
bashful, Randy. At one point, you were a scratch golfer, weren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm probably trying to hang in there now, but takes a lot of practice and time.
What do you really enjoy about the environment here at Enterprise? Whether it be, you talked a little bit about your customers, like the environment, the facilities, coworkers.
We relate back and always say we're a family, which really we do. We help each other out.
It's really unique how we're set up in banking in terms of being kind of generalist, right?
Yes. So a lot of different bigger banks, I call it, they have specialty departments where somebody may go out and see the customer, then bring all the financials back and hand it off to somebody else. It gets reviewed, gets sent back to the lender to look at and present it. In our case, we take it from start to finish. We go out and meet with the customer. We analyze their financial statements, try to package the loan and make it the best that suits their business. Go out and present it, run it through the scenarios, and close the deal. And we continue that relationship. It's not like once we see them and we get them a loan, we're moving on to the next customer, because it's in our best interest to be working with the client all the way through.
And I think that's important for continuity with the client. They're not having to recreate the wheel every time they need something because there's already somebody that's been involved and knows their business.
Absolutely. Right? And they can call us directly. They call me and I can talk to them directly and give them any type of answers or issues they have.
Yeah. And as Jody was mentioning in my conversation with her, you guys spend a lot of time in the field, right?
Yes, we do.
So you're typically banking, doing, whether it's loan closings or discussions, you're on site with your clients.
Absolutely. So again, it's nice we go out, and my part is to go out and see them and learn their business, know their business, and be able to help them and with their needs.
We've been 25 years. You've been here 15. I've been here 20. So based on what the bank has done up till this point, where do you see the future of Enterprise Bank and the business model?
Very interesting question. I see the bank continuing to grow. I like the fact that we are hands-on with the client. We take it, as we said, start to finish. It's a relationship that you don't necessarily get from anybody else.
Well, for those clients that are looking for a solid family-type relationship, Randy's one of our team here at Enterprise Bank. And as I said, a lot of experience.
Yes.
In different industries and in the banking industry as a whole. I think you're one of our few guys that is a career banker, right?
Yes, been in the banking industry 39 years, and give me a call. Love to help you out.
Sounds good. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
I'm sitting down with Travis Gonzalez, one of the newest generation of relationship managers here at Enterprise Bank. Welcome, Travis.
Good morning, Dave. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So, as I mentioned, you're one of our young bucks, so to speak.
Yep.
How long you been at the bank now?
Believe it or not, I've been here just over 5.5 years.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about your professional background. So you've been at the bank here for 5.5 years. What would you do prior to that?
So straight out of school, I started working for the Federal Home Loan Bank in downtown Pittsburgh on Grant Street. Went through a rotational program where I was in a few different departments, transaction desk, internal audit, as well as capital markets, and really liked the exposure. And from there, based on the auditing aspect, I ended up moving to KPMG, also downtown.
Yeah.
Really good experience. I was in IT advisory. Again, we worked with pretty large financial institutions, and I wanted to do something that was a little more meaningful to me on my personal level. So I was looking for a position where I can work with smaller businesses. And I've never actually heard of Enterprise Bank, but I saw
Okay.
a job opportunity listed on I believe it was Indeed. So took a chance and ended up transitioning into being a relationship manager assistant. Got to learn a little bit of the bank here
Yeah.
from that role. I started off in credit for a short period of time, and then I was assigned to a relationship manager, and then ultimately promoted to a relationship manager myself. And yeah, I've been in that particular role for just over 5 years.
Neat, neat. So, you have some mentors here at the bank that you
Absolutely.
lean on. One of which is one of our senior lenders, Ray Ford,
Excellent
who
guy.
has somewhat of an aversion to being on camera or being on video. So, you and I talked earlier. We thought it would be nice for Ray to join us for part of this segment, right?
I did not want him to be left out. Again, as one of my mentors, I really look up to him. He's my Ford and savior. So no, but yeah,
So let's have Ray join us.
brought Ray here in spirit with me. So Dave, do you mind if I
No,
put
sure,
it on that
sure.
way?
That
I
way
could
we can
represent
include him in the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, Ray's usually a pretty jovial guy, but he doesn't look real happy in that picture.
Yeah, it does look a little bit more of a mugshot, but
Yeah.
still a good look.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he could join us for this conversation. So,
Thank you, Ray.
in your relationship manager role here, what are you responsible for? I mean, what's your day look like as an RM?
Actually, that's one of the aspects that I enjoy most about the job, just the variety. It can a day never looks the same for me. So I always have to take a look at my schedule, my to-do list, and kind of prioritize. A good portion of my role is business development, and I work with you directly on that. Always get great advice and creative solutions from you. So that could be anything from meeting with clients, true startups, and walking through the process in terms of what different financials we need for the underwriting process, going through their financials with them, trying to troubleshoot, and really identify what the needs are for their requests. Always open-minded, like to see what their thoughts and ideas are, give it any feedback, relevant feedback I have, and, present different ideas. So I really enjoy that aspect of putting together a solution for them based on their needs.
In the 5 years you've been here, we've even during that latest period, we've had pretty good growth and pretty good, development of different aspects of the bank. So, what do you like? And again, your background, KPMG is obviously a huge company, and the Federal Home Loan Bank is more, of a quasi-governmental type thing. What do you really like about the environment here at Enterprise?
So from an internal operations standpoint, I like how flat it is in terms of having access to leadership. So Dave, you work with me directly on business development.
Yeah.
Over the 5 years, I've learned so much going on sales calls with you and just seeing how your experience provides different solutions and different avenues to get pieces together. So I've really enjoyed learning the business development piece directly from you and then also from our loan committee. I think it's really interesting that all of the relationship managers, whether or not we have a new deal to be presented, to be approved, we all still attend the committee meetings. So I get to learn from everybody else's underwriting, get to learn different industries that I might not particularly be working on a client with right now,
Yeah.
but that's information I can carry forward. So I would say I really enjoy the breadth of the different industries that we work with, the different sizes of the clients, because every different size has different pain points, different needs.
So I'm interested in learning about who Travis Gonzalez is beyond his role as an RM. So tell us, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do?
Yeah, so I'm not a city boy. I grew up in the sticks.
Okay.
I'm out from Northeast Pennsylvania in the Poconos. That's a very large geographical area, but I grew up in a very small town. So I grew up fishing, not hunting, but a lot of hiking, a lot of camping. And then when I ended up going to the University of Pittsburgh, and I chose that in particular because Pittsburgh is such a great mix of city, but you don't have to go too far out to have, lots of greenery, lots of parks. So I do still enjoy a lot of camping. Not so much tent camping anymore. I like to find a cabin. I'm getting a little too old to sleep on the ground.
Where do you see, it's been 25 years, you've been here for part of that. Where do you see the bank going in the future, and you personally in the bank?
Yeah, I really love the direction that the bank's headed since I've been here. Very consistent in terms of leadership, philosophy, and just really trying to service the needs of our clients. So, really just looking forward to help branching out and developing more business over time.
Well, it's been great to have you on the team. Future looks bright for the bank and for you personally. You do an excellent job with your clients and portfolio. So thanks for the time today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Dave. Thanks for joining us, Ray.
As part of Enterprise Bank's 25th anniversary, I wanted to sit down with a few of the folks from our senior management group. So with me today are Chuck Lai, our president and CEO, who most of our viewers and listeners have seen on prior podcasts. And also with me today is Lori Sestra, who is the bank's chief operating officer. Chuck, Lori, welcome back.
Morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's my first time.
Yeah.
First podcast.
So 25 years.
Right.
Can you believe that?
No, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know how I haven't aged a day.
So what I wanted our viewers and listeners to get a sense of today as we're celebrating this milestone for the bank is kind of the Enterprise Bank story. Talk a little bit about, how we've grown over this last 25 years, where we are today and where we're going in the future. So, Chuck, I think we'll start with you because this was your and a couple of your friends' brainchild, right?
Yeah, this was my idea to start the bank. And it got off to kind of a rocky start because I remember Doug and Larry Lockhart, who are board members and founders, they were the first people I approached. And, I have a little cabin on the island in Harmarville there. And so we went over there to talk about, grow out some steaks and talk about doing this. And we got out, and we're all water skiers. So we got out on the boat, and I started talking about the thought process of forming a bank and what they thought. And I was out skiing first and, fell down, and they never stopped to come around and pick me back up again for like
It wasn't that great of an idea.
So I'm like, well, I guess they don't like that idea because they're leaving me go down the river.
So when did you first, conceptualize the bank? I knew we opened in 98, but when did you and this group first conceptualize the bank?
A couple years before that.
Right. In the banking environment at that time, there hadn't been a lot of what they called de novos or startups at that point,
Well,
right?
there was Pennsylvania Capital Bank that started off in Pittsburgh. And in fact, we had a lot of our clients referred into that bank because they started off like as a small business bank along with wealthy individuals. And I thought it was great. And then as time went on, the plan kind of changed, and they changed management and changed some of their philosophies. And we got a taste of what it could be or what we thought banking could be for small business. And when they kind of changed their philosophy a little bit and delivery, then we thought about doing it ourselves.
Yeah. So what was the gap that you saw in how small business was treated or handled in the banking industry?
Well, we didn't see banks wanting to help small businesses get started and to mature. And the CPA firm where I was a partner, you spent a lot of time and effort trying to help people get money at banks, and there were just certain things that were detrimental, whether it was continuity of relationships. You get to know somebody at a bank and develop trust. then they'd get promoted and you'd start all over again. So actually the way the bank started is after talking to some friends and people with potentially investing in it, they're all small business people themselves. I said, give me a list of the things you don't like about banking. And there were 10, the list got narrowed to 10 things, and I basically wrote the business plan to address those 10 things.
And I think the most unique concept that you all came up with, which Lori and I both experienced earlier in our careers, is the concept of the relationship manager and them being vested in the success of their clients.
That concept addresses multiple of those issues. Having empathy for a client, having continuity for a client. As you know, in our situation, a relationship manager is like running a small business inside the bank. They go through the same pressures that their borrowers are going through in running their business, and that created an empathy that typically wasn't there in banking for the client. Plus, there's a continuity. They never change. They never get promoted out. They make, as an RM, you can make as much or more than the president makes. And so there's no anticipation that when you become an RM that you're going to get, quote, promoted, because there is no promotion. That is running your own business
And the
inside
sky's
the
the
bank.
limit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that addressed numerous of those things, issues that people identified as they didn't like about banking. 1998,
you and your friends founded the bank. You initially weren't even, the president of the bank, right? You came in a little bit later.
No, I was the chairman,
Right.
and I had no intentions of running the bank. But the existing management team that we had was struggling, and the bank wasn't doing well its first year and a half or two. And there's something that happens that when you get all your friends to make an investment, and then the investment starts going south, they kind of look at you and say, you created this mess. Get in here and fix it. And that's how I started running the bank.
Yeah. So you mentioned your background. You were a CPA for a number of years, right?
Right. I retired from the firm just a couple of years ago.
So you had that background of dealing with your small business clients on the accounting and consulting side.
Yeah, and I also had the benefit of the firm before we opened our own. I spent a lot of time in the banking area doing a lot of bank tax work and regulatory consulting in that era. And so I had a stronger familiarity with banking than most would have. Not the degree I needed as an insider to run it, but it certainly had a strong familiarity with how it operated, and by being a tax professional and an auditor and working in the banking environment.
Right. I think the other thing you mentioned is really important. We are not at the board level and senior management a bunch of traditional bankers. You brought in disciplines from a lot of different areas of small business to complement your background in consulting and accounting, right?
Yeah, there's basically two concepts that are kind of foundations of whether it works for you as a director of the bank. One is we want everybody to have a different expertise so that when we're sitting around the boardroom, we can make a decision without having to bring in people. And so, whether it's, an insurance person, an IT person, a traditional banker, a lawyer, all the different positions that we identified that we needed covered to make good, solid business decisions, we've recruited people for that role. In addition, at the very beginning, the challenge for me when I talked to Doug and the other founding partners was this was not supposed to be, as was occurring a lot at that time, start up a bank and in 10 years sell it and make your money. This was supposed to do something different and show we could make a difference in the community and balance the needs of the shareholders and the staff and the clients. And so to do that, we knew, a lot of people say I separate business and family. I think Doug's and my philosophy is you can't separate them. They're the same. And we want a culture in here where it's a family, fair culture. And so as I've recruited people for the board, I've looked for people who have a strong, they have those technical backgrounds, but they also have a strong ethic, fair, family type of almost excessively emphasizing those things as I got to know these people. And when I'd see that was the characteristics that I wanted to bring together in the team, because unlike most organizations where a CEO comes in and kind of brings in the strategy and then also executes the implementation of the strategy, here the senior management group executes the strategy that the board develops. Not an individual, but as a team, they develop it. And this culture of family and fairness is a big part of establishing that culture. Because, like for instance, a lot of people have struggled nowadays with the concept of working remotely. The banks are struggling with it because people want to work remotely. We haven't had that issue. We try to overcome those issues by making it so that coming to work is fun. Whether we have gymnasiums, daycares, the kitchen, cooking for people, doing all the things that we do to make work like fun, like being in a family. And we want you to look forward to going to work, and we want you to look forward to going home. And that all comes with establishing that culture, which always originates with the board.
Well, Lori, let's move to you. Talk about growing up
Wow. I know.
in this bank.
Yep.
So give us your background. I mean, you
Yeah.
started kind of near the bottom and made your way through
Yeah.
and had some outside experience that's really benefited what you're doing now.
Yes, it's just crazy to talk to you guys right now. I mean, seriously, I am so honored to still be here. And to, the beginning of my career started at Pennsylvania Capital Bank, which is what Chuck had just mentioned. A similar-ish style bank to, I think, what Enterprise Bank. I think they started all out with a similar mission. And I interned there through all my years through college. I worked in every different department at the bank and was lucky enough to have the opportunity to kind of almost choose where I wanted to go. And very early on, I knew that I wanted to be a commercial lender. I ran their credit department for a while after I graduated from college. And I was recruited over to Enterprise Bank by Ray Ford and Jody Zielinski, who you had spoken to earlier. The two of them were initial employees at the bank, and they recruited me over to Enterprise Bank. I was a 26-year-old kid. Looking back, probably overly ambitious at the time. I'm sure it was a little annoying. Don't ask Ray that, because he'll tell you. I really loved it. I loved the commercial businesses from the beginning. I loved the small businesses. I loved seeing what we could do to help people. And very early on, the culture of the organization, as Chuck had explained, was very apparent. It was a family. We developed really close friendships at that time. Again, at the time, there's probably 10 of us, So this was early on, 1999. I was able to, luckily enough, when Chuck came in and took over the bank, very similar amount of that time is when one of our lenders left. And there was a portfolio of clients that were available. And I think I was annoying enough to let everybody know that I was ready. and I was very, I was very lucky that Chuck recognized, I think, my abilities in conjunction with my ambition to give me the opportunity at that time I was probably 26 or 27. And I took over that portfolio of clients and was able to become a commercial lender, which is what my goal was.
And then you and I were introduced.
Right.
My own personal story, I was working at the SBA, Small Business Administration, for a number of years, got to know Chuck a little bit. And Chuck, at that point, you said, "Hey, we really need to get back or need to get into SBA lending because that's a big part of small business finance." So, I worked with Chuck, and I tell the story all the time. At that time, all my best friends were bankers, and you wouldn't catch me dead in 99% of banks. But I looked at this model too, and thought, wow, this is really entrepreneurial. And coming out of the SBA, I kind of had that entrepreneurial mindset. So I was introduced to you when you were moving your family out to the eastern part of the state, right?
That's correct. Yes. So I was pregnant with my first child, and at the time, my their father was getting a position out in that part of the state, and we decided, what, this is the time for our family to kind of move. So I did that. I was lucky enough to be able to stay home with the kids for a couple years there, and really pay attention to the most important part of my job in my life, which was being a mother.
Yeah.
And then, pretty quickly, I knew, career was important to me, and in that, luckily I was, I had the support, and we were like, okay, it's time. So I wanted to go back to work. But one of the things that, there was a lot of personal issues that happened in my life, and as everybody has, and I had felt so much love and support from all of the people that I worked with at Enterprise Bank throughout a lot of different periods of time in my life. So I left in 2004-ish, whenever you started, so you and I got to spend some time.
What an introduction to Enterprise Bank. I spent a month driving around with Lori, meeting all our clients and having beers in Chuck's office. We're famous for having a beer tap in the president's office. It was just so much fun part of my life.
Right. And I felt that. I mean, I felt it with you. I knew you were going to fit right in. It was such a good family type of environment. And it was really hard for me to leave that. Yeah. I did, end up coming back to Pittsburgh for a short period of time, around 2007, 2008. And, very, with open arms, Chuck let me come back to the bank for that year that I was in Pittsburgh, and was able to come back in and help out in the loan review side. And again, just, knowing, feeling the support and love from the not only the president of the bank, but the other friends that I had made. I came back and worked for that year, ended up moving to Philadelphia at that point, working at a bank out in Philadelphia, ended up being their chief credit officer, another great bank. But I can tell you, the minute that I was able to move back to Pittsburgh, and immediately there was no other option for me but to reach back out to Enterprise Bank and say, hey, is there anything available? Because I'd love to not only come back to Pittsburgh, but I'd love to come back to my family at Enterprise.
In this current role, how long have you been in your current role then?
So pretty quickly after I moved back to Pittsburgh, like I said, I was lucky enough to get a lot of additional experience outside of running a commercial administration department is what I started. Yeah. I became an assistant. I was a commercial lender. I ended up being their chief credit officer. So I had a lot of experience in the credit side in conjunction with working with the examination teams and the examination process, which is a huge part of obviously running the operations of the bank. And it was perfect storm for me that, Chuck was really, looking for that type of experience, and I happen to have it.
So not just from a customer growth perspective, but from an employee and facilities perspective, we've grown significantly in that 25 years. I've been a part of it for 20. So, we started with pretty humble beginnings, right? With a really kind of small building. And how's that gone from there?
Well, that building we expanded, 3 times. And then we've bought this building across the street and turned it into a campus kind of structure. And it's almost as big as the one across the street. So we've grown a lot. Yeah. We've grown a lot.
And we've evolved beyond just being just a bank, just a core bank. And we now offer a whole myriad of different support services for small businesses beyond banking. Can you talk a little bit about that? Either of you.
We have whatever we need, whatever we can do to help a small business get started is kind of the concept. This podcast studio is, this is the means nowadays for smaller businesses to advertise and get their word out there. So we put in a podcast and we want to make it affordable. A lot of firms will, and they spend a lot of money doing a podcast, and a smaller business can't afford that. So whether we do insurances or title insurance or bookkeeping services, temporary CFO services, IT services, whatever we can do to bring professional help to the small business and the startup business at a price that they can afford is what we lean to do, and that's always changing based upon what we perceive as the needs of small business. So we have a real estate agency. We have a little construction company. If we take back a property, we're not into leaving it in a blighted state. We take it back, we rehab it, and then we sell it. Giving back to the community, we'll buy, with that little construction group, we'll buy a house that's kind of dilapidated and we renovate it, and all our staff gets involved in renovating it, and then we basically gift it to a single mother raising kids to have a good start, to give them a base to take care of their kids and to grow as a family.
Yeah, family's been a kind of a common theme when I interviewed a few of our RMs for this podcast too. Family, and you talked about the founding of the bank based on kind of a family concept. With that in mind, you mentioned, we try to make it fun to go to work. So you guys want to talk, Lori, you want to talk about some of the unique type of amenities and things that we do here to make it fun for the employees?
Absolutely. I mean, God, what an amazing, again, place to work. I mean, I've come back 2 or 3 times for a reason. But yeah, I really do. There's so many fond memories. Even going back to when the bank first opened, I mean, there was, again, 10 of us, I'm guessing, around at that time. We worked a lot. We worked hard, played hard. I mean, we worked 12 hours a day. There was nobody that left, before 7:00 at night. We really did. We worked hard. But, when we were able to, take a minute, enjoying the people you work with, and really genuinely, they are great family people. They are great friends. They're just, it was an amazing group of people, which some of them still work with us today, which is,
it is unique.
Isn't
I mean, in banking, I always joke around, the people stay the same, but the names of the banks they're with change constantly. That's
Right.
not the case here.
No, it's again, including the, the two of us. I mean, again, we spent time together in that year, and then, I, came back a couple times, and, we've all been together for so long that you have a unique relationship, and it goes beyond just coworkers. We know each other's families. We're invited to each other's kids' weddings. We're now. I mean, we've watched kids grow. I mean, I know. I used to every once in a while, when you have a small team, Ray would be out with a client, and can you go pick up RJ for me? And again, now, RJ has kids of his own. I mean, like, how did this happen? Like,
Right.
I was like, I feel like we've grown up together. And even the new employees that come in, you start to see, I think because we've created that environment, you start to see relationships that they're starting to build
That's
the
a
same
great
way
thing
that
to see. That's a great
we
thing
built
to
them.
see.
Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of the linchpin of the whole thing, is creating that culture. I don't know if you all remember, but when I first came in to take over, we had issues, and there was a lot of, when I came in the door, people just jumping on me that they were complaining about other people, and there was a lot of arguing and fighting, and oh, my desk isn't as big as so and so's desk, and all those kind of things. And I don't know if you remember, but you weren't in the bank at the time, but you were at the SBA, and we went to Seven Springs to the NAGLE program. And, I gathered all the relationship managers together and some of the administrative people, and there's probably, let's make 6 or 7 of us. And they learned that the old man could play quarters really well. And they were all playing, we were playing drinking games, and they're standing on chair. I remember
Yeah, and I
Lori
came out of
was-
college not too far before that, so I was upset that I'm like, wait a minute, I should be better at this.
I can remember Lori Sestra sitting on his, making her stand on the chair and say, Ray Ford is the best boss of the world. And
Which was painful.
3 a.m. And
It was painful.
But when after that, everybody got to know one another. The fighting stopped. They start to work together as a team, and the culture starts in. And like nowadays, how many people we take the whole bank and their families to Raystown to camp for a weekend, and we're in picnics and campfires and on boats out on the lake, and that makes it a family. It's not just a place to work. It brings everybody together to spend time together. When Dave Miller is passing out by the fire, and I'm helping his wife, get him back to the cabin. All those stories and all those things, that's what makes it fun.
Right. And it's not just an internal thing. We try to create that same atmosphere with our customers, with our small business clients.
Exactly.
I mean, we've been blessed to have clients that have been here since the beginning of the bank. 25 years, that's unheard of. For customer relationships to have that continuity.
Yeah, and I would love to hone in on that point, because I truly enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
I truly enjoy my job, and a good part of it is that, because not only the relationships we built inside, but that whole concept of that relationship that you're building with your coworkers and everyone also is being built with your clients. And watching the clients start their businesses, it's a dream for them to create whatever widget that they're wanting to create and be able to go out there and for us to be a small part of being able to help them create this life for themselves, in turn be able to give that to their children. And it's such an amazing experience. And to work for a bank that specifically focuses on small businesses and startups and businesses who have had a down cycle. I mean, money is great, and obviously we all need to pay bills, but what drives me to come to work and to come to work in an organization like this is so much broader than the paycheck. It's fulfilling. And I hope, that is what the rest of the organization feels from us as senior management, because to me, that's highly important.
And it's great to see a small business start up and be successful, but I get my biggest personal satisfaction for the businesses, because let's face it, the business world in general, and particularly in small business, it's cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be bumps in the road that businesses are going to deal with. I get the biggest personal satisfaction out of us working with businesses through difficult times, and persevering with them and being a partner with them through those times, and creating that loyalty and that I got your back.
Mm-hmm. And that character that you see in those clients that is not able to be seen on a piece of paper is what we're able to provide. A bigger bank or somebody who doesn't have those personal relationships, they're just a number. Where that person is going to work with you through this downtime. You're going to work with them. They're going to work with you. They're going to be honest. You're going to be honest. You're going to work with them through this process. That's something we are able to give because of the type of, bank that Chuck and the founding members of this bank have created.
What's the next 25 years look like? I know we're all, getting a little further into our careers now.
Don't use the word old.
I said I've been using the word tenure
or experienced.
Experience, like that, Lori, like that. So, Chuck, what do you see the future of Enterprise Bank?
I see it continuing with what we do now. In the long term, we had always said that a third of the profits would be for growth, a third would be paying dividends to the shareholders, and the other third was to make equity contributions to help people get started in their business. And that's the one aspect that we haven't completed yet, and we're getting very close to starting that. So for me, I'm looking forward to kind of getting out of the day-to-day things at the bank and getting into those other areas to get them up and running and started.
Yeah.
And to kind of complete the vision that a few of us had when we first started the bank, but never, losing that culture of family and fairness and trying to help people. I mean, it's fun when that really sinks in. It also makes it easier to work with one another and critique one another because your
There's a
first
trust factor there,
your first reaction when somebody critiques you is to be defensive, and when you have that trust there, you have more of an open mind. You set through things, and we're always trying to do things to make it fun. You guys have not discussed the concept of beer bucks and
well, let's
how we give out
end
beer
this
bucks.
conversation about beer bucks.
Beer bucks is something it's just to try to create the culture and the jovial aspect of things. But when somebody does something inadvertently that's kind of dumb and funny, then they get a beer buck, and it gets highlighted at the Christmas party that they got a beer buck. And if you get a beer buck, then you get dinner for two at Ruth Chris or a nice restaurant. And to give an example of like a beer buck, one of our realtors put the real estate for sale sign in the wrong yard. And the next day, the lady that was in that yard was calling up, Doug, who's in charge of that area, saying, I don't remember putting my property up for sale. What are you doing?
And we have a ton of those stories, a lot of which are not fit for public consumption. But it's part of that fun atmosphere. So, congratulations, Chuck, on your business plan being as successful as it has been. For me personally, I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. Lori?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for the next, to watch the bank grow into the next generations and, be able to. Our founding members, in my opinion, were very forward thinking at the beginning to begin with, because having the one branch concept where, we had one branch and our relationship managers go out to their clients and meet with them. We even had a car or a truck at one point driving around and picking up deposits and bringing them back to the bank.
Thank God for technology.
Right? Exactly. But think about that. Now you're looking at all of these banks trying to consolidate or downsize their branches. And it was like our founding members thought about that, 25 years ago. So I'd like to continue to watch that, us grow and be forward thinking, whether it's regarding AI, technology, social media, how the next generation of lenders are going to come up and develop business a little bit different than maybe you and I did. So it's fun. It's fun to think about what the next, 20 years are going to look like.
Well, it's been a great ride, and hopefully the ride's going to continue. So I guess congratulations to us.
Yes, right? Happy anniversary.
Yeah,
wait, we need like wine or champagne or something.
That's usually a part of
That's usually how it ends for us.
So, and most importantly, those of you that are friends of the bank, whether you be clients or referral sources or resource partners, you are the ones that really make this work. So, for any of you who have ideas for future episodes of Inside the Vault, you can email us at insidethevault@enterprisebankpgh.com. And you can check us out on all the major podcast podcast platforms in audio format and in video format on YouTube. Chuck, Lori, great talking with you. Thank you all for watching or listening.